Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. France, Uruguay, World Cup quarterfinal. Who do you think's gonna win? Can France break down Uruguay? Can Uruguay cope without Edinson Cavani? Don't worry, here are the interviews. We've got you covered. So on this edition of the interviews, we're gonna break down three main talking points ahead of France and Uruguay. So France, Uruguay, our first quarterfinal. France, World Cup contenders. A lot of people think that they are built to win this tournament, whereas Uruguay has been my dark horse of the tournament. I think they're built from top to bottom. They're balanced. They have a great coach with experience, and they also have experience. They have Suarez. They have Cavani. You look at the defense. Godin, you have Jimenez, you have the functional midfield led with youngsters like Bentancur. How can you break down this Uruguayan side? I think that's going to be the biggest issue for France. When we preview this game, that has to be the first question. How does France break down Uruguay? When we look at it as a whole, France throughout this tournament have only looked good in spells. They looked good against Peru in a 30-minute spell where they were able to break on the counter. They looked good against Argentina, who pushed men forward. They struggled against Australia, but found their goals through quick transitions, and they couldn't break down Denmark. Denmark set up deep, they defended well, and the Uruguay's going to do just the same thing and probably even better. They arguably have the best defense in this tournament as a whole and in the center back pairing. And when we break that all down, we have to look at France. They're probably going to line up in a 4-2-3-1. Giroud up front, Griezmann behind him, Mbappe on one flank, Pogba and Kanté in midfield. But the biggest question is who's going to be on the left-hand side. When we do break that down, Matuidi has slotted in. He's dropped into midfield when they need him to. He's able to charge forward into the left channel when they win the ball. He's able to lead the counterattack, and he's able to stop what would be Caceres down the right back side. But they're not going to have him, so where do they go from there? They don't really have a player to fill the mold that he could play. They could go with Nzonzi and move to a 4-3-3 if they wanted to and have Griezmann playing off the flank, then have Kanté sitting deep, or Nzonzi sitting deep and Kanté and Pogba going forward. They could do that and have Tolisso going forward with Kanté sitting deeper. However, it does look like they're probably going to go with Dembele going down the left. Lamar hasn't really been given the opportunity. And when you look at the other options, they have Fecker, who could come in and be more of a creative fulcrum. He doesn't look like he'll get the start. They're probably going to go with Dembele, who did start the first game. And what they have now is they have speed up front, but how are they going to exploit it? Like I said, Uruguay sit deep, two banks of four. Probably will have another midfielder drop in as well. So it's a bank of five and a bank of four. They're narrow. They don't want you to go through the middle, and there's no space to break into. This isn't going to be like Argentina where they push men forward. Uruguay are fine sitting deeper. We saw that against Portugal, soaking up pressure and then finding different ways to exploit your weaknesses on the counterattack or through Luis Suarez. How are they going to break them down? Well, one avenue they could play through Giroud, try and hope that he could win aerial duels against Jimenez and Godin, have him hold up the ball, try to play in Griezmann, try to play intricate passes and have Dembele and Mbappe make sharp runs in behind. The problem here is that France lack a creator. They don't have a ball-playing midfielder that can link play from deep, spring those passes, find that incisive pass. They don't have that in a number 10. They don't have that in a central midfielder. Kanté and Pogba, great, energetic, athletic. Kanté's the ball winner. Pogba could drive forward. He does have a knack of playing those long hoofed balls over the top, but there's going to be no space to play that into. So how are they going to go about it? Their fullbacks aren't really renowned for getting forward and delivering dangerous crosses into the box. I know that worked against Argentina due to poor defending down the right-hand side, but is that going to work against this Uruguayan side? I highly doubt it. They're organized. The wide players push out, then they shift centrally, and they keep narrow and vice versa. So how do you break down this side? How is France going to do it? They've struggled to break down deeper sides like Australia, like Denmark, and again, this is going to be another big test for them. And as it stands, there's just no plausible way for them to do it. Set pieces, perhaps a Uruguay mistake, but it just doesn't look, it's very difficult to really point out how they're going to do it. Mbappe won't get the space to break him behind. They're going to have to find a way to possibly stretch the pitch or go through intricate passes and try to break through. Then we look at how is Uruguay going to set up. Edinson Cavani doesn't look like he's going to be fit to start the game. So, and even if he comes on as a substitute, where do they go from there? It looks like they're going to start with Stuani and then have Suarez playing off the top, and that could be very key for them. Suarez was good against Portugal. He likes to drop deep. He likes to hold off markers. He could pick up the ball and hope that Stuani can run him behind. That's the big issue with this Uruguay side. Cavani and Suarez were so integral to what they were doing going forward. They have the partnership. They understand each other's movements. They're able to interchange roles. We know Suarez could drift out wide and Cavani will break him behind and vice versa. How are they going to do that here? How are they going to build attacks? They're not going to want to push too many men forward because they know they could get hit on the counterattack. So what it looks like is Suarez going to play off the last shoulder, try to break him behind. But again, Umtiti, Varane, not the best center back partnership, but they're athletic. They could cope with Suarez's pace, and Suarez is going to have to try and win fouls, try to help his team push up the pitch, rely on set pieces. But that looks like a viable way to really get forward unless he could spark a partnership with Stuani. We haven't seen it in this competition yet, so we don't know what to expect, but that's a route for Uruguay to get forward. The other question here is who's going to play in midfield and how are they going to play? We know that they could line up in a flat bank of four, and that would obviously be integral to what they're trying to do. We've seen Vecino, we've seen Bentancur start there, but Tyrrell has come in and done a job. So it looks like they're probably going to play a diamond, and why this is so pivotal is because Tyrrell now could play a big role. We saw Christensen slide into midfield for Denmark as they moved to a midfield three in the group stage game against France. Griezmann and Giroud didn't have a sniff. Obviously, Oscar Tabarez has looked at this. He can utilize this to his advantage. Have Tyrrell sit in deep, mark off Griezmann, sit in and clog space and ensure that no passes get into Giroud, and then rely on the center backs to cope with Giroud's aerial presence there. And then what you have there, no threat into Griezmann, track him out of the game. If Pogba and Conte want to go forward, you have Vecino, and you have arguably they could play Nandes, they could play Rodriguez, they could play Sanchez on the other as the other shuttler, and then have Bentancur in midfield. Then when you look at it like this, you can have the shuttlers press, you can have Bentancur press. They just have so many options, and they're going to stay compact in midfield. Pogba, they won't allow Pogba and Conte to dictate the tempo of the game, and now it's really down to how is France going to break them down? When you really look at it, Uruguay have all the tools to really peg this team in. If they could block off those passing lanes and then have the wide players shift over to protect the fullbacks, which they will do, how is Dembele going to get a grip on the game? How is Mbappe going to get a grip on the game, especially if Mbappe drifts centrally? It just looks like Uruguay is built for this. But again, for Uruguay, we question how are they going to score goals. For France, how are they getting behind? Will Cavani play? How do they replace Matuidi, and can Dembele or whoever starts on the left make a difference? And will Deschamps move and change his midfield and play a 4-3-3? So many questions to ask, but as it looks right now, it's really tough to call because we don't know how France is going to break him behind. And it's integral that they score first, because if they do, it's going to force Uruguay to come out, and then they'll have space to break on the counterattack. But for now, the question is, basically, Uruguay sitting deep, France not proving to us that they could break down a deep, organized defense. And here, against this Uruguay side, this will be their biggest task. And I think past that, perhaps we can justify their World Cup favorite credentials. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think France will win? Do you think Cavani will start? And if so, if he doesn't start, can Uruguay win this game? Meet me in the comments below. Don't forget, I upload videos every day, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And that was your daily dose of the interviews.